At Extra Foods, we care for you. That's why we always have the widest variety, the best prices, spacious aisles of total convenience, plus clean, safe surroundings. Let us care for you. Extra Foods, always extra for less.
The power. To shatter the strongest. Conquer the indestructible with Ronex collection of angle grinders.
Assalamu alaikum. May the peace and blessings of God be with you. You are viewing The Right Fit on IBN, the Islamic Broadcasting Network. I am Bibi Ajoda, former lecturer at Corinth Teachers College, retired school supervisor 3 with the Ministry of Education. Join us as we discuss several topics, including education, environment, health, and technology, to name a few. Through this platform, we aim to inform and educate you, our viewers out there, through discussions and questions with our subject matter expert. In our studio today, we have a subject matter expert, the expert on mathematics. We will be discussing teaching and learning about mathematics. With us in the studio is Dr. Shireen Khan. Shireen, welcome to IBN.
Thank you so much, Bibi.
Thank you for having, I know you took time from your busy schedule to join us here, and we really appreciate that.
It's always a pleasure to help with mathematics.
I know you are very passionate about mathematics. So tell us about yourself and your mathematics career path.
Well, you're sending me way back now. But I discovered that I did not like to learn things that way you have to memorize when I was small, So I chose mathematics because you had to figure out. And things like tables and things I never really learned. I figured it out by knowing other facts. I'll just give you an example. If somebody asked me to multiply 7 by 6, I would say, well, 6 6s are 36, and 1 more 6, 42.
You see?
Or I would say, we could do this in many ways. So mathematics came to me as a subject that I grew to love, and when I went into secondary school, it became more real to me. I just loved geometry.
Wow.
I used to like to solve problems, and I think, people don't understand how mathematics transfers to your real life. Because my problem, when I solve those problems, I developed persistence, a quality that I took through my life. I couldn't go to bed unless I could solve the geometric problem.
But tell us something about your professional. I mean, we worked together at the Learning Resource Center in Couva. You were a curriculum officer for math.
Yes.
And you moved on, and you got your PhD now. And I know you're doing a lot of consultancy.
Right. Well, my career could be cast into 3 areas, really. The first thing was my secondary teaching, which I did for about a third of my career as a profession. And then I moved on where you knew me at Valsine Teachers College, where when you select your current, right? And then I moved to the Ministry of Education as a curriculum coordinator. And as I taught in the secondary school, I realized that children had learning problems. And when I went into Valsine, I switched from secondary to primary. And I felt that took a long while because primary is a real different kind of teaching. And I fell in love with the primary school methods. And then when my little stint at the ministry, well, I didn't say another third of my career choices, was at the Ministry of Education, where I was more involved in policies and so on, and I enjoy things like running mental maths competitions.
I
Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, and we had the JMT, and you know, I saw a different perspective. So put those three together, and that's a
And
summary.
gives you a wealth of experience now to our viewers out there. They know I have a good expert here with a wide range of activities and experiences. But I want you to tell our audience why mathematics is so important.
Gosh, could you think of the world without mathematics? Right? From the morning you wake up, your alarm clock is going off. That's then you have chores to do. You have to understand how to prioritize your chores. You go to the grocery, you buy things, you have to use money. We could have never had these technological devices like the cell phone, the computer, everything. Maths is the queen of the science, right?
Yes.
But most of all, maths teaches us how to think. And that's the takeaway that we should get from mathematics. All the passing of the exams, the solving the quadratic equations and so on, are really things that make us learn to think and make decisions in a certain way. So that's the main real importance of mathematics to me.
Mathematics in everyday life,
Everyday
banking,
life.
shopping, buying, cooking, everything else. You need math for it. Now, something that bugs me is that the Ministry of Education data shows a high failure rate for math at the SCA level. Students, approximately 50% of them fail. At CXC level, I'm quoting here, 51% attained 5 subjects, including math. So you're seeing a correlation there? 50% failing at SCA, 50% failing at CXC.
Yes.
What can you tell us? What are some of the reasons for this high failure rate?
Yes, well, that is really unfortunate. And even though we have tried things, and our children could do math, you know, but the main thing is that is the instruction. So there is a threefold problem here. You have the students, so the learners have their own difficulties.
Right.
You have the environment, which is the parents, the home, the culture, and then impacting on them is the instruction. And as you can look at this slide, the diagram shows that instruction
So we
is
have
the
a slide coming up here with the diagram. Okay, so you could bring up this slide with the diagram from the PowerPoint. So she will show us some of the reasons that affect performance. Okay, there you go.
Yes. So if you look at that slide right away, what are you seeing? You're seeing the 3 factors. But what is driving the whole thing? You see, it's the instruction.
Instruction is the bigger of the wheel.
Yes, it's the biggest. So
Biggest wheel there.
that is the main driver. And it has proven to me over and over that is really the main cause of the low performance. I just want to tell you a little story I had when I was curriculum officer and I went into a secondary school, and there was a student in a class called a 1S class. You remember the days when they used
One
to...
special.
Yes, when they used to put children in a 1 special because they were too old to remain in the primary school.
Right.
And they would promote them and put them into Form 1. Well, as I visited the school, I visited that classroom and I decided to look at some of their work. And when I saw the errors the students were making, I was able to do some intervention to help those children. So I want you to look at the error itself that the students were making. And we'll talk about the problems that they have.
Okay, so we have our next slide here coming up. The errors here.
Right. So on the left slide, you will see a problem in addition. All right, this is a Form 1 child. She adds the 1s, and she gets the 14, correct? She puts down her 14, she crosses the 4, but look at what happens. She puts the 1 in the 1's place, which is really a 10. So when I asked her, well, why did she did this? She said, well, if you cross out the 4, you don't need it.
Oh, that's
What a revelation. Yes, so at that point in time, I too was stunned. And I said, look at this child. She's passed through about 5, 6 teachers, 7 teachers in the primary. She's now in secondary, and nobody ever corrected this error.
Yes, that's a revelation.
That's revelation. And in the subtraction, you see a very common error. When students don't understand place value, they just know if they can't subtract, they can't decompose, they don't understand equivalence of numbers, that 64 could be written as 5 10s and 14 ones. So they actually just solve the problem by subtracting in any order.
Any order that they want to.
Yes, yes.
So these are some of the errors in mathematics that you have seen and have had first-hand experience out there. And I'm going to
Yes.
tap again on you. Well, you're talking about the concept of high failure rate. Any more suggestions why we have high failure rate?
Right, so let's go into analyzing these two problems. We'll come back to another problem later on. Now, the fact that the child has reached so far and still has conceptual problems means that the foundation skills were not in place.
Correct.
So that's one of the major, maths is a very sequential subject.
Exactly, you build one on the
Yes,
other.
yes.
Because last week I had ECCE and they were very good with their manipulatives, their hand blocks and the two. And I asked, well, what happened at secondary level? I mean, primary level, which primary now is the foundation for secondary. So my question, and I think you're going to go through a sequence of slides and videos to tell us, what are the factors that affect teaching and learning?
Yeah.
What is the barrier keeping back, or barriers that are keeping back children learning? And are teachers using appropriate resources? So all these questions
Yes.
are pulled together, but I
Yes.
know from your demo and your slides, you would address these questions and its use.
Yes. So we have the problem of rote learning, where the child learns a procedure, like what happened in this case with the 14. She knew she had to do something with that 14, cross this, but maths is not about crossing things and putting it where,
It's figuring it out.
Yeah, it's figuring it out. So when we learn a procedure and the procedure makes no sense to us, we forget it and we create our own algorithm.
Which you saw there.
Which is what has happened. That is happening with the subtraction as well. Also, the lack of feedback in math. Early intervention is the best. When we get feedback early, if that child had just spoken to one teacher, or if the teacher had interviewed the child, the teacher would have seen the problem easy, and then it is easy to
And
fix.
that's an important question as a lecturer, questioning and asking the right questions is very important. And like you said, if the teacher had intervened and asked the child why you did this, then she could have probably assisted her further.
Good. So one of the strategies that has been very popular now in all the developed countries that are performing is the concrete, pictorial, and abstract approach. This, I don't know if you remember your psychology in Bruner.
Of course, concrete level to abstract level, you must have something
Yes.
in your hands
So,
to work with,
right.
of course.
Yes, so Bruner talks about this sequence of instruction, which begins at the concrete level, where the child uses hands-on any materials from the environment. And then later on, the child draws, and there's a pictorial level. And then finally, they would reach the abstract level, where they would use the symbols. Because you have to move them to the abstract, because math is abstract. But that transition is not it's a smooth transition, and it takes time. And teachers are not prepared to spend a long time at the concrete until the child is ready to move on to the pictorial and then the abstract. The advantage of this method is that the child learns to draw in the maths class, right? The child understands and can relate to maths in the environment. So I want to show you the sequence in a short clip.
Okay, so we'll go to a sequence video.
We place addition and subtraction.
Addition and subtraction, 2 videos. All right, and she's going to show us the sequence there.
Okay, this is a place value math in which we have one side for the tens and 2 10 frames for the ones. On the mat, we use the mat to do addition and subtraction. So we'll now demonstrate how an addition is being done. So Jamie will take out 36 for me. She's going to illustrate how to solve this problem. Tell us what you're taking out.
3 10 blocks and 6 ones.
Alright, now take out 28 for me. Tell us how much you took out.
2 10 blocks and 8 ones.
Alright, so to add, we join both sets. So Jamie, you can join all your ones and all your tens for me. Good, and tell us what you're seeing now on your mat.
5 10 blocks and 14 ones.
Alright, so do you have enough ones to make a trade?
Yep.
Alright, do so. Where are you going to put the 10? On the 10 side. Very good. So, tell us how much you have in all after you join both sets.
6 10 blocks and 4 ones.
And that is?
64.
Alright, very good. So we're going to subtract 27 from 64. In the subtraction, we do not put the two numbers on the mat. We put only the bigger number. So Jamie, tell us how much you have on the mat.
6 10s and 4 ones.
And we want to subtract 2 10s and 7 ones. Do we have enough ones to take out 7 ones?
Nope.
So what do we do?
Trade 1 10 block for 10 ones.
Alright. Notice she's putting the 10 ones in the other unused 10 frame, just to make sure it is 10. Right. So tell us what you have now on the mat.
5 10s and 14 ones.
And how much is that in all?
64.
Very good. Now let's take out the 2 10s and the 7 ones.
2 10s.
Good. Move your ones in all to one position, one frame, and tell us what you have left.
3 10s and 7 ones.
Okay, so 64 take away 27 is?
37.
Thank you.
So you have just seen two small videos, one on addition and one on subtraction. So Dr. Shireen Khan, tell us a little more about those videos, what is involved, the methodology, and the question involved in those things, the resources actually used.
Yeah, well, those resources are called base 10 blocks, and they are very important to teach addition and subtraction because students often, when they see an abstract number like 24, they don't understand what the 2 means and the 4 means. So they mean different things. So the place value mat, as you would have seen in the videos, had the 10s on one side and the 1s on one side. So when the child had to add the 1s and they got the 14 ones, it actually demonstrated the process of moving 14 ones to trade for a 10 and a 1. So the child who was not aware of why they were crossing that 4, right, is now seeing it for the first time. And I must tell you, when I did that method with the same child I was talking about, in 1 she got it.
Absolutely.
She didn't have to have a lot of experiences because she was at least a Form 1 child.
Right.
So you would expect in the primary school now they would spend a week or 2 doing that. So that is what she got out of it. That why, she got a why out of.
Which is important
which
for
is
learning.
important for learning, right?
And the concrete, as you said.
And you know, it illustrates in those 2 videos this important concept of equivalence in math. That 14 is 1 10 and 4 1s, right? That 64 is 6 10s and 4 1s, but in the subtraction, they had to break it into 5 10s and 14 1s.
Right.
So that concept of equivalence is teaching mathematics for going further. When they do fractions, they have to do equivalence, okay? So concrete material is really important for children to build concepts.
Especially in the early stage, which we call the primary foundation level.
Yes.
And as a message for our teachers, helpers, students, that the teachers should try to use as many concrete examples and resources to teach.
Yes.
What goes on, we don't know.
Okay, so now we look at the pictorial mode.
Okay, so we go to on the next slide on the pictorial mode. Again, demonstrating teaching of math. Great. Here you go.
Okay. So this is one other method that we use that we are drawing now to show addition. Okay. So you could, this is called an open number line, where you start at the number that you want, which is 36 in this case, and you show how you can add on your 28 in steps. So, you know, you do this mentally, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. So you add your 36 to 10, you get 46. You break it up another 10, you get 56. And then you add your 8 to get your 64. So children now can move onto this pictorial mode after having experienced place value, how to break up numbers into tens and ones. And of course, this is only one example of the pictorial mode. There are several examples.
Okay, next slide.
The next mode is the symbolic mode. Now, this is where teachers make really, you know, the mistake in that they introduce this mode without those other two modes. And that's why the procedures are really mixed up. So look at what happens even in introducing the symbolic mode. There's a recording system that the child must understand when they add the ones, what to do with the 14. Now later on they could learn crossing, you know, I don't have a problem with that. but let us understand it first. So they could now think of 14 as a group of 10 and 4 ones, and you see how they record the 4 ones in the ones position and the 110 in the tens position.
And it's there in red, so you know that you have to add it there.
And not only that, this is just a recording of what they just did with the maths, right?
Okay.
So they transition from visualizing and doing it in the concrete mode and now recording it. And look at the subtraction now. They understand that when they don't have enough ones, what happens? They have tens. And every child knows you could trade 100 for 10 dollar
Right,
bills,
in
right?
dollars,
So
right.
good. So they trade one of their tens for 10 ones, and they are left with 5 ones, and now they have 14 ones, and they can do the subtraction. So this is the stage that we reach last. And when they understand all the stages before, now they are better able and equipped to do their computation.
Excellent. And we hope this takes place at the primary level, as you said. Okay, you have another slide? Or?
Yes, we want to show now how symbols could be confusing to students. So I want to show you some sample students work on converting mixed number to improper fraction.
Okay, so let's go to the other slide, which is a sample again that we have there.
No, not this one. The one with the error. You have to go back.
Go back, I think it's before these two.
It's one with two, that's
yes,
it.
that,
Right.
Okay, thanks. So these are factors that affect mathematics learning, confusion with fraction symbols. Okay?
Yes. So if you look at the question, this came in a national test some years ago. It's a standard 3 level.
My Lord.
So they asked students to write 1 and 1/8 as an improper fraction. Not a single student drew. You know, this is what the students were trying to remember, a rule. And they were remembering the rule, but in a mixed up way. So they know they had to do a multiplication and addition. So this child said, well, all right, 8 ones are 8, 8 and 1 is 9. Rule as well, you know. But then what to represent now as the answer? So they use the 1 and they use the 9. Now, thinking, if you think conceptually, if I have a whole and a piece, how could that be equal to a piece? So this is another thing about mathematics. They don't think it's real. They don't think it's about life. So they could give an answer that has no relevance to the problem and be satisfied with it. Look at the other child now. This other child did something else with the numbers, right? Add the 1 and 1 and get 2 and get 8. Now, first of all, language. The child does not understand what is an improper fraction. Because in both cases, they give proper fractions. Right?
Correct.
Secondly, the symbols that they write does not represent what they want. So understanding the meaning of symbols is really critical, and fractions is one area that is really has to get a lot of materials to understand it. So I'll show you how these could be done using the materials now.
Okay, so you have a video.
I have a video on
When we
this.
bring up that video on fractions.
Okay, this is a set of fraction circles. Here we have all the circles are the same size, but they are divided into different number of equal parts. Can somebody show me the whole that is now divided? Take it out here. Can somebody show me the whole that is divided into 2 equal parts? And what do we call those parts?
Halves.
Can somebody show me the whole that has been divided into 3 equal parts?
1, 2, 3.
And what do we call those parts?
Thirds.
And who can find for me the family of 8s? Count it and let's see.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right. So we know how these wholes are just different families and their family names depend on how many parts they have. Who can show me 2/5?
2.
Why did you choose that whole?
Because it's divided into fifths.
Right. So show me 2/5. Right. Can somebody show me 1/6? All right. Count the parts and see if the whole has 6 equal parts.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's 1/6. Okay. So can somebody show me 1/4? Right. So that has
1, 2, 3.
4 equal parts. Very good. So now we're going to learn how to convert improper fractions to mixed numbers.
So you just looked at a video on fractions, but I want you to stay put, stay right there. Once we're going to take a break, we're going to explain about the fractions for you. So let's take a break and come right back to The Right Fit with Dr. Shireen Khan.
Never too early, never too late to recharge and hydrate. Get your daily dose the right way. Grab our Oasis, now why wait? Never too early, never too late to recharge and hydrate. Get your daily dose the right way. Grab our Oasis, now why wait? The greatest, the safest Oasis for sure. Oasis, it's purer than pure.
IBN is in the process of printing English Qurans for free distribution to non-Muslims, new Muslims, and the curious wishing to educate themselves on Islam. To support this initiative, you can contact us at the studio 645-4426 or 663-8373. Those numbers again, 645-4426 or 663-8373. Join us in IBN's Quran Drive.
Fruitopia, the thing that rocks your lunchtime. Fruitopia, Fruitopia, it's a drink that's high. The citrus punch, fruit punch tastes nice. Guava, pineapple, that give me a vibe. We no want nothing less compared to the rest. Fruitopia the best. Punch anytime. for lunch. Flavors pack a punch. Fruitopia, Fruitopia. It's a drink that's hype. The citrus punch, fruit punch tastes nice. Fruitopia, the drink that rocks your lunchtime.
Try our new passion fruit flavor today. Taste the passion.
Welcome back to The Right Fit. We are discussing mathematics, especially teaching and learning. Prior to the break, you saw a video on fractions. Now we'll ask Dr. Khan to explain a little bit more about the fractions.
Okay, so the resources you would have seen are called circular models of fractions, and they are very common. The schools have those resources. When you are teaching fractions and you introduce the symbols without hooking them to the manipulatives, this is what causes the problem. So the first thing the child has to understand, you notice she was choosing which whole to use. So she had to figure out where are the six, where, you know, where are the fifths. So in understanding that, she had to understand that a whole always has 5 fifths, 6 6, 8 eighths.
Some of equal parts.
Yes, and they must be equal. So those are key concepts in fractions that we must not miss, and the manipulatives bring them out.
And they have manipulators in the school, but whether they are teaching with it or not. And it's important, as you say, and that would be at what level?
That would be a standard 2.
Standard 2 level, basic understanding of fractions.
Because in the new curriculum, we delayed fractions.
Right.
So it now, at standard 2 level, they really do a lot of fractions.
Okay.
So a standard 2 child could understand the symbol for that.
And that video explains it. Again, teaching and learning we're discussing here, showing parents, showing our viewers how simple and easy it is. If you use these manipulatives, as we say, it will be the understanding, the concept about fractions there. And you wanted to talk about pictorial mode.
So after they are familiar with resources, now, mind you, this is only one model for fractions. We have the linear models, right, which will show a whole. Then we have the set models, which will show a whole as 5 or 10. So teachers have to go through this instructional sequence, not only with one model. Remember, they have to generalize. So they must see different kinds of representation.
Correct, because you're not seeing it as a circle, you could see it
as a
linear model. I remember as a student, you do the whole model, fractions into half, quarter, eighths,
equivalent
fractions. Yes. And seeing it there, as you said, what you see and what you do, you remember.
That's correct.
Correct. Okay, so and then you have a slide about the pictorial mode. So we'll bring up this slide on the pictorial mode. I think it's past this one. Right, here you go.
So in the pictorial mode, they do the same things they do with the concrete, except they draw. And children don't have problems drawing these things.
Not at all.
Yeah. So if they don't want to draw circles, they could draw the linear model, right? So this is showing how, if they were given a problem like that in an exam and they forgot the algorithm. See, this is why I said I like maths. You don't have to learn algorithms.
You could draw it.
You could figure it out. So what is 2 holes and 5 6? They draw a hole, and now they know they're dealing with 6. So they divide each hole into 6, and they add all the 6. Right?
And they got the answer.
So this is the pictorial mode, which is transition them now into the symbolic mode.
As even John Public out there could understand that mode there.
Yes.
Because I know the SCA, and this is probably straying, somebody challenged the public out there to go and do the SCA exam to see how much marks they would score in the math. You see, so we are building concepts and foundation, and you are telling the viewers and showing them methodologies and instruction and resources, how to use it effectively.
But those adults who say they can't do the SCA, I don't blame them, because they learn so many procedures that they forget all.
Exactly.
If you talk to a typical adult in the workplace and ask them how to do a long division, they'll tell you they don't know.
And now adults would use the calculator,
That's right.
so we don't challenge the brain anymore. Right, it's true. We need to go back to concepts. So after this one, you have another one?
Yes, just showing the symbolic mode.
The symbolic mode.
Right. So they have now weaned away from the concrete. Right, and they now understand the meaning of those symbols. So now they could actually do the problem with symbols. So they could understand a whole. It still could go back to the explanation. It's 6 6. So if you have 2 holes, that's 12 6. And then you add your 5 6, and you get 17 over 6.
And you see the logical sequencing of it. And you explain and you're showing the audience
Yes.
there how easy it is for math. All right? And some of them have a phobia. Okay? And you have another slide?
No, this would be just, yes. The other slide I would like to show you is how we can use these same 3 modes at a SEA level to say solve a problem on area.
Okay.
So here's the problem, right?
You could
This
read it.
is of the level of a standard 4 or 5, right? A rectangle has an area of 18 square units. If its length is twice its width, what are the dimensions? Now, when a student reads that, there's no procedure for them to draw on, right?
Right.
But if they understand what area is, they could visualize what is happening here is I have to build a rectangle with a certain dimensions. So we use little squares to represent 1 unit of area. And this is what the video will show you.
So we have a video coming up on area. That'll probably be our last little video.
Yes.
All right. So audience going to look at the video on area so they'll understand what the question asks and how to do it.
A rectangle has an area of 18 square units. If its length is twice its width, what are the dimensions of the rectangle? One of these equals 1 square unit. 2, I need 18 of these. Now we start by lining it up in a straight line. Now the dimensions are 18 by 1. That can't work. Let me try making the width longer. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 by 2. That can't work either. Let me try by Now the dimensions are 6 and 3. That will work. Now the dimensions are 6 and 3. And that will give us our answer.
So you just looked at a video on areas. So Dr. Khan, tell us about that video there.
Okay, so once again, we start at the concrete mode. Remember, when your child reads a problem, they have to translate it into what they understand about area. We use the try and adjust method here. That is a problem-solving strategy. You don't have to understand steps. You don't have to learn steps to solve any problem. So you use a try and adjust. So the child tried, she put all the squares together to get a rectangle, but that was not the answer. The answer wanted a rectangle that's its length is twice its width. So then she just adjusted, as you see. So she made the width smaller, bigger, until she got the answer. And that is a problem-solving strategy using the concrete approach.
Right, and even parents could use that at home with their children sometimes to teach them basic math.
So now the next mode would be the pictorial. Mode. And teachers, all teachers have access to graph paper or checkered line copybooks or grids.
Right.
So instead of making the rectangles with squares, they could use the checkered line copybooks and draw the rectangles. And that will suffice for the pictorial mode.
And these are all good examples for teachers looking on there. Get your notebooks or start doing it in the classroom then, helping them. We have the professional expert here. So you listen and them take notes and examples that you are showing. And a lot of for them is available online as well. Right. Which you will come up to there.
So the symbolic mode will not work for the primary school because it involves too much of symbols.
Right.
We could stop them at that second mode, and that is sufficient for them because you don't want them to be solving algebraic equations. And that is where the symbolic mode will go in this problem.
Okay, right. Two big words. Define first what is conceptual understanding. We're talking about that, and procedural fluency. Do you think there is a balance of conceptual understanding versus procedural fluency in teaching math?
Yes, that's a big question, baby.
Yes.
Okay. Well, when we learn procedures, okay, without knowing why they work, we develop something called instrumental understanding. I'll give you an analogy from Skemp himself. He's a psychologist who started with these terms. He says, if I am living here and you are living at another place, and I ask you to give me directions to your place, and you give me a set of oral directions, when you reach this place, you turn right, then you make a left, then you make a right again. Now, I am following your directions, but I make one mistake. What happens to me?
You lost.
Exactly. No, what he is saying is that is what happens to the child who learns procedures.
That's a good example.
Yeah. But if now I had given you a map, a Google
Map,
and I said, this is my house, this is where you live in. Now, that gives you options. Hey, it's 3 o'clock, I don't want to get any traffic, so I think I'll take this route.
Right.
Right? Or I might want a more scenic route. So that gives you the power to make decisions and choices in terms of which route you would take. And that's exactly what happens to the child who has to learn mathematics and understand. So when they have the relational understanding, they could actually have the wider picture. Now, this same concept of place value, we deal with base 10.
Yeah.
But when the child goes to another class in secondary, they deal with base 5 and 6. When the child is adding weeks and days, they're dealing with base 7. When the child is adding minutes and hours, they're dealing with base 60. So this crossing of method do work again. At this stage, they have to understand how to convert from one unit to the other without this method. So that is where the mathematical power comes in. You empower your children when you teach this way, and they become better mathematicians.
And they understand what they're doing. Yeah. You see, some of them learn by just procedural, do this, do that, and they
there's
end
a
up...
third reason too. Our brain, right, is mathematics, you know, old-time people say is brain exercise. It has some truth in that, because you are configuring your brain when you are teaching, your child's brain when you are teaching. So if you teach your child procedures, the child have a lot of files in their head, they all mix up. If you teach your child how to do it, how to understand, all the neurons and so on are connected. So the brain becomes more complex.
Of course.
And the child is better to do.
And you is a critical thinker after too. You could think
right.
better. It's holistic brain working now for everything else.
Correct.
So my next question to you is, how does the design of the curriculum affect the teaching of math? And do you think there are some misconceptions about math?
All right. Well, the design of the curriculum in Trinidad and Tobago is, we have come a long way, right? It used to be packed, and now we took off some things so that teachers could spend more time using these methods. Unfortunately, it is not happening as fast as we thought, right? So the curriculum is, there are other issues in the curriculum, like we have children now at the spectrum, right? We have children who may have dyscalculia, which is a little bit
Explain to them, what is dyscalculia?
Right. Well, you know what is dyslexia?
Yes.
Right. Well, it is the mathematical equivalent of dyscalculia. But it means that if you find a child is having problems in math and they cannot even reproduce a diagram, or they're taking a little longer to do things, only about 7% of children have it, or less. So it's not, and it could be treated, because you will now have to slow down your pacing with this child, right? You may have to give the child worksheets that are not confusing. Use checkered line copybooks so they line up their work. So it's not something that you write off the child. The child will be able to improve as they go along. But they can become very anxious when they have, you know, these problems in maths. And that is the bigger problem than the maths itself, because there's something in maths called maths anxiety.
Okay.
It's almost like if we created a disease, but I don't like to say it like that.
Yes, a lot of people have anxiety over math.
Anxiety is a result of prolonged failure in maths, and not only that, labeling. When you put children as remedial, they begin to feel different, right? And this is what happens to them. And when they have to write an exam, they get physical symptoms of, stomach ache and so on.
And here we have a slide too, so the audience can see math, anxiety, low confidence, and mindset. You see, this is what happens there. Poor child.
Yes, so the child, when they start to believe that they can't do it, they begin to have what is called a fixed mindset, and they don't try. But if opportunities arise and they are successful in maths, they begin to move towards a growth mindset where they feel like, I could do this.
Yes.
And that will help them.
Positive reinforcement. A little bit goes a long way. And how does the culture and environment affect math?
Well, in our society, education is valued, and maths being the important subject.
Subject,
Yeah, you will find that people. So sometimes people want to talk about a maths brain and thing, but this is just myths, right? There's nothing really like a maths brain. If you can do math, all children can do maths, and all children are able to do maths. So I don't think there are much problems with that. But parents are very important in this whole thing, and I think
we could talk about the parents too, because that was my next question. What's the role of parent in all of this scenario? And we have parents looking on tonight, parents, grandparents. What can you help them with? Homework, parents, all that?
Yes. Now, parents feel that they have to know maths to help their child do maths, but that is not true. We went to school and our parents could not do the maths that we did in secondary school, but we survived.
Yes.
So the parent's role is to support the child. So the child has homework to do, the homework is difficult, the parents could just sit with the child, let the child explain what they're doing, and they can help them. But then there's the whole issue of homework. There are good and bads of it. While homework could be good for mastering math, mastering and practice and so on, it could also create tensions in the home. Because if the parent does not understand the teaching methods, this could really, so when the child is supposed to be bonding and playing in their home time, parent and child struggling with maths.
And I have a practical example, a real life example. My grandson, his uncle said, well, I don't understand this math now. It's different from our time. Yes. So that is another.
Yes, and if parents have to do homework, parents themselves have to go and research.
Exactly.
Yes. And it's taken away from their time that they should be playing with their children. So teachers have to understand that a lot of the reinforcement in the maths should really be done in the classroom. I know they used to have 2 periods a week for math. A day, sorry, for math.
I think now they only have, at the secondary level, I think it's 1 per day, and the primary, well, it's every day is math, eh?
Yeah, every day is math, but they used to do another extra class in the afternoon. Or there could be other programs in the school to help students with their homework. After school programs where students can do their homework. But parents have a real role to play. And they could pass on their anxiety to the child.
Yeah, because like for SE, and I always say that there is anxiety. You have to do this, you have to do that. And it's rote until a lot of children have stress for math. So parents, is a message for them out there to calm down and be with them. And even parents probably have to learn with their child there and understand, as you say, research, find out how to do something and go ahead, help them. Lots of information online as well. They could find out that.
Yes.
And this brings me, as I said, online. What role technology has in math?
Yes. Every piece of resource that you see, concrete resource, there's a technological resource to match it. So those same resources that you saw, the base 10 blocks, the fraction circles, there are websites that are free that teachers could just need. All they need is a smart TV in their classroom. And they could hook onto these devices and the students could actually come and touch and move the resources on the board.
Okay. And then they would love that, interactive. They like the technology.
Yes.
And they could work with that to reinforce learning, help them to be active or involved in the learning themselves. What do you think math will be like in the next 10 years with technology?
Well, the actual mathematics wouldn't change as such, but it's how we use it will be changing. So we will see that, there'll be more fields for people to go into which are maths related. And I think, it is already changing a lot. If you look at every single day, the technology is changing.
Correct.
And that is all supported by a strong maths.
Math, because my previous guest talked about AI, and it's in everything now.
Yes.
Yes, and the technology, perhaps some children, they like the visual and they see it and they could go and dabble with it a little bit. Yep. From your experience, you think the assessment we do now is the right fit?
Right, it's a good question. You see, if we're thinking of maths as reasoning, and we're thinking of maths as solving problems, and maths as practical and hands-on, definitely our assessment is paper and pencil. So we cannot capture all the goals of maths in a paper and pencil exam.
Obviously.
Unfortunately, we have to place students, we use the SEA to place students, we use the CXC to get students' grade. So we have to actually accept that when we assess mathematics, we are limited in terms of assessing the whole child and how much mathematics they know. But we are moving towards that direction in the assessment. The SEA now has increased the proportion of reasoning in mathematics. So there are some items there on the SEA that would really require a lot of thinking. But then the teachers have to be able to keep up. Right?
And that is my next question, teacher retraining and training.
Yes, we are really a society which is assessment driven. Right?
Yes.
So that could also put a lot of tension. And that is why the SEA has a lot of tension associated with it.
I've gone through one set already with a grandchild. So you think there is a need for training and retraining of teachers?
Oh, definitely. In the developed countries like Singapore and Finland, first of all, in the recruitment, before we go into training, teachers come in at Finland with a master's degree. No teacher enters a classroom in Singapore without a degree first in a content area.
Wow.
So I want to make that plug for the content. We need to have teachers. If you are teaching primary, you must have, I think, at least advanced level maths and not just O-level maths.
Yep.
Yeah. So you need to be able to go through these, the content is important because sequencing a maths lesson or a math unit requires a good bit of understanding of mathematics.
Definitely.
And we don't have, our curriculum design does not cater for lesson plans and units and so on, like some of the other countries. So teachers need help with that. Teachers are really generalists at the primary school. And therefore, they have to create their own lesson sequence, their own lesson plans. We could help at that, the ministry could help at that stage for us to get the teachers, to give the teachers that hand-holding. Then we have the coaches. You remember when we had the facility?
Coaches, yes, they are there. They went to the primary school. They had workshops every week. You see a bunch of activity at LRC where you are training them, teaching them, and they went back out in the classroom to help teachers.
So unfortunately, we don't have that system anymore. So they need another level to be introduced in the system because not all teachers who come into teaching could handle the maths with confidence. So if you have these coaches around still, they may be attached to 2-3 schools, and they can go and help teachers with their planning and their sequencing. This would help a lot. Eventually the teachers will get it, but they need a lot of help with that.
Okay, as we closing off here, what do you think is the way forward? I think some of these suggestions here would
the way forward is for teachers to buy in that you have to go through stages in teaching math, like the concrete, pictorial, and abstract. So they have to understand that reasoning is important. So we need more sensitization workshops, more helping for teachers, right? That is at the level of the classroom. At the level of the curriculum, I think we due for another review.
I think so, yeah. It hasn't been reviewed in a while.
We might as well make it, this time, a more teacher-friendly curriculum. You see, it's a set of objectives and so on, but it's not broken down into lessons and units and so on for teachers. So we need to give them that help at that level. Yeah, and the last thing is the parents, don't be too anxious about your child and their mathematics because you could pass on that anxiety to your students. And we don't want that to happen. So just sit with them, and listen to their problems and try to help them. You have a real role to play as parents.
Thank you so much. So viewers, mathematics would always be an essential part of our lives, whether at home or in the school or whatever. So thank you for viewing. We hope we made a difference in your lives and added some value some way. First of all, I must thank Almighty God for this opportunity. I want to thank my guest, Dr. Shireen Card, for taking time off of her busy schedule, but she's the math guru, I would think, in Trinidad and Tobago. Many thanks to the management and staff of IBN, Hasib, Saeed, Saif, Sadiqa, and Justin. Join us again on Monday at 8 p.m. with a rerun on Saturdays at 5 p.m. Drop us a line if you would like to make a contribution or you would like to be part of this show or program. You can contact us at 475-1439 or the IBN studio 645-4426. Our topic next week is community service and education with the Rotary Club. Again, our contact number is 645-4426, 475-1439. Assalamu alaikum and good night. Thank you.